Thank you, Ruth. Wow, what a fantastic group of people to be in the same room, conference room at IDS. I'm very, very excited and a little bit humbled, actually, by this fantastic group. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to IDS. The weather is always like this, for those of you. So we're sitting here 4 years on from that remarkable commodity price spike of 2007 and 2008. Actually, it wasn't that remarkable in historical context compared to the mid-70s in terms of its magnitude, but its legacy, it seems to me, is hugely extraordinary. Some of the dimensions of that legacy: 100 million people plunged into hunger. So it took us about 15 to 20 years to get from about 950 million to 850 million hungry people in the world, if you believe the FAO numbers. That's a pretty slow rate of progress, but at least it's progress. And it took us about 2 years to get from just below 900 to 1 billion. So that tells us how fragile the food security system we have at the moment is. That's one of the legacies. Another legacy is deep worries about price volatility. Deep worries, lots of anxiety, lots of policy debate about what to do about it and how the poorest, most marginal and most hungry are going to cope with that. So lots of social unrest. So we saw the riots over food price rises. Who knows how linked that is to the unrest we've seen in North Africa and the Middle East. And not just there, in lots of places in the world. But one of the legacies of that spike, it seems to me, is this extraordinary increase in the international demand for land, and that's why we're here today. And I really enjoyed reading the JPS pieces that were sent around ahead of time. In fact, I'd like to thank JPS for making those available to everybody ahead of time for free. I learned a lot from reading them. Let me remind you of some of the facts behind the land deals. This is from Klaus Dining's team at the bank, and they gave us some ideas of some of the facts. Where is this happening? 2/3 of the increased demand is focused in Africa. How much? 40 million hectares in 2009. That was the demand. Greater than 20 years previous land expansion in that continent. That's extraordinary. What's it being used for? Again, the data is sparse, but where the data exists, 40% for food, 20% for industrial and non-food cash crops, 20% for biofuels. Where's the demand coming from? From China, the Gulf states, Russia, North Africa, but also from the UK and the US. Which countries are targeted? Those with lots of uncultivated land, which is not forested, those with low population density, and crucially, those where land rights, where there's an absence of formally recognized land rights. So all of that stuff raises lots of alarm bells that you well know. Will these deals involuntarily displace those who currently use that land? Will they generate social benefits for the target countries? And can these deals be done responsibly? But there are even louder alarm bells being rung. People like, and I don't know if it's Tanya or Tania, I'm really sorry, but I want to say Tania Murray-Lee. Her paper, she argues that even responsible land-scale acquisition is unlikely to reduce poverty because of the type of agriculture it introduces. Large-scale, not labour-intensive, not broad-based. And Olivia, I don't want to steal his headline, but I was really caught by a quote in his paper, which he says, the quest for responsible land deals is almost like developing a checklist of how to destroy the global peasantry responsibly. I thought that was an extraordinary quote, and that will stick with me for a long time. So the bottom line is, will any social benefits from land deals be greater than what the government could responsibly do with that land if it chose to invest in it? In other words, is a land deal simply an abdication of governmental responsibility? So it seems to me that the land deal debate has tactical but also strategic dimensions to it. Tactically, about governance, about institutions, but strategically it's about what is the vision for agriculture in those target countries. And how is that connected to any kind of democratic process? So the one thing we do need is more evidence. And you know, IDS exists to generate and use knowledge, not just to inform debates, but to influence those debates. Not just to help explain the world, but we want to actually try to change the world. So we're very pleased that, to be a part of this Land Deal Politics initiative, along with ISS Plus, Cornell, and many others. We're very pleased to do that, to be part of that. And I'm particularly delighted we can host this conference. It's very timely. The demand has been huge. I congratulate the organisers for their vision and their determination to make it happen in the absence of core funding, and I'm sure a whole host of other difficulties they had to overcome. All it remains to do is to say thank you for coming. I welcome you to IDS. I think it's going to be an enlightening and hopefully a stirring 3 days. So, welcome.
Thanks very much, Lawrence. I'd now like to call on Jun Borras, convener of the Land Deal Politics Initiative, to speak to us about the background to the conference, our aims, why we're here. Jun is Associate Professor at ISS in The Hague. He's also editor of Journal of Peasant Studies. He has several other hats, including Adjunct Professor at the China Agricultural University in Beijing, and a Fellow of Food First in California, and a Fellow of TNI, the Transnational Institute. He's also the initiator and coordinator of LDPI, and will provide some background for us. Thank you, Jun.
Thank you, Ruth. Good morning, everyone. Just a few words in this obligatory welcome remarks. One is that we know that a lot of things are happening in the land front globally, but less of it we know, less of what actually those things mean for peasants, for ordinary villagers, okay, and what it means in a longer term, or its implications in agrarian structures in the world. So, well, having those things in mind, we started this initiative, basically aiming to contribute to deepen and broaden the discussion, more looking at what are actually happening on the ground with solid evidence to look and examine. We started with a modest initiative of having a small grants competition, and then we gave very modest amount of money to 40 grantees. Most of them are doctoral students. Many of them are from Africa, and some of the grantees are here. Many of them are not here, but they are all doing this fascinating research in more than 30 countries. And then after that, we just thought of bringing them together one day to a closed workshop and to discuss the findings of their research. And then we said, well, we should add maybe 10 or 15 more papers and then make this call for papers to enrich the discussion among the grantees. And this is what we have today. Well, for one, we know that there were already, and there are, and there will be many non-academic conferences, very important policy-oriented, activist-oriented conference on land grabbing. What we thought is missing is more of bringing together all this fascinating academic research that are being undertaken in different parts of the world together, and also make sense of what's going on from an academic perspective and how it can contribute to policy debates. So basically our gathering today is first and foremost an academic conference. But we don't want it completely detached from the real world. That's why we also invited a handful of people who are engaged in the actual policy debates and activist political discussions. There are only a handful, but they are the very key actors in this terrain. So we want to have a more productive, healthy debate and engagement with the actual development policy world on this. three broadly distinct but interlinked disciplines that we want to frame this conference would be around, again, political economy, political ecology, and political sociology of land use. There was a massive interest in this call. As I said, we were just thinking of additional 15, 20 papers. Then we had to eventually, we chose this venue with 120 seating capacity. And then in the process, we had to reject 250 fascinating scholars doing great research on the same topic. They submitted very high quality abstracts and papers for this, but that we couldn't accommodate everybody else, everyone. So we just limited to 120. So we have to remember that at the very least, there are 250 high quality scholars out there doing research on the same topic that we are doing. And it's one of the agendas of LDPI to continue to forge this broad network for exchange of knowledge and ideas. There are a number of colleagues who were selected among the 120 or so participants here who couldn't come because of visa problem. One of whom was this Ibrahim Coulibaly, one of the important peasant leaders from Mali. So that's really very unfortunate. 120 papers. Of these 120 papers, 70 countries are focused. So we know that at least 70 countries are being highlighted in the papers that we have here. 20 of the papers are very much into regional in scope, in their analysis. We have identified 32 thematic panels and 4 plenary sessions. That means at least we can look from very critical perspectives, land grabbing from at least 36 perspectives, different perspectives. 36, it's amazing. About us here, who are gathered here, 1 out of 3 papers of the 120, 1 out of 3 are doctoral studies. 38 PhD students, it's amazing. Fantastic, very serious doctoral students who are out there in the field gathering evidence to have a better understanding. Of those who are here, 69 universities worldwide are represented, 69 universities, fantastic. Plus 29 independent research institutions. It's a broad network that we hope it would not be a one-shot kind of conference, but we can continue to maintain the network for continuing knowledge exchange. 17 Africa-based scholars. That's a significant number. We wanted more, but because of logistical limitations, we couldn't bring in more. 3 universities have 3 delegates here each. Louvain, Clark in the US, ANU in Australia. Berkeley has 4 delegates here. The biggest, the university with the biggest number of participants here is Cornell, 6. Maybe they are preparing and warming up for conference part 2 that we are planning for next year. That Ian, in his closing remarks, will announce 3 days from now. Okay, so on behalf of our host, the Future Agriculture Consortium here in ITS, and of my co-organizers, Ian, Ben, Wendy, Ruth, and on behalf of the editorial leadership of the Journal of Peasant Studies, many of whom are here, I welcome you all, and we hope that the 3 days of discussion will be rigorous but respectful, serious but fun. Thank you very much.